The perfect One Piece pirate crew. I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks now because, that seems like way more fun than engaging with the dumpster fire that seems to be the real world at the moment. So instead today I want to invite you to grab your favorite drink and sit down with me as we have some fun trying to craft the best and worst possible One Piece crews that I can think of with my years and years of One Piece knowledge, and I'll be doing that by filling each position on the crew one by one at the same time, and also making sure that they're not only either insanely strong or laughably weak fighters, but also the absolute best and worst possible fit for their respective role. And then also for the lols, I want to have both of these crews fight each other at the end as well. Starting though with the vice captain of both of these crews. Now to me personally, the best vice captain in One Piece had to be someone who is strong, has pretty good vibes, and most importantly is flexible. I think we all kind of often tend to think that the vice captain needs to be a super powerful character like Rayleigh, Ben Beckman, or someone like that, and while I do agree that those would be very solid choices, I don't think that they're necessarily the best. Like, don't get me wrong, they're definitely strong, but what are they gonna do if their crew is stranded, injured, and most importantly, without their captain? And for that exact reason, I wanted to give the best vice captain spot to none other than Marco the Phoenix. Now, Marco may not be Yonko status himself, but he is arguably way more versatile. He is widely sought after, as we saw post Wano when Shanks tried to recruit him, and for very good reason also. I mean, he is strong enough to hold his own against King and Queen at the same time and walk away from that with just minimal damage. He also throws hands with admirals like it's no problem at all during Marineford, and of course he was the first division commander of one of the greatest pirate fleets of all time. But I think we all also know that his true claim to fame, and the real reason I chose him, was his devil fruit, which is my favorite one. Because that mythical phoenix fruit makes him the perfect vice captain, as I think he can just support anyone and everyone on his crew. Is the doctor missing? No problem, blue flame healing powers for everyone. What if someone would be drowning? Well, he can just fly over and scoop them up from there. Power-wise, he's already on par with most vice captains, and with all of these extra bells and whistles, I mean, for me, it was just an easy choice to throw him in there. But on the flip side, the worst vice captain is pretty obvious if you ask me as well. You see, when I was outlining these crews, I knew these characters had to either perfectly embody their role or be just the absolute worst fit I could think of. So I needed to pick a weak, stubborn, and arrogant person to be the vice captain of the worst possible crew, and simply put, there is nobody worse that I could think of than Foxy for this role. I mean, look at this guy. It's kind of like Waluigi and a bowling ball had a kid and then rejected him for being a loser. I mean, honestly, I don't even think that he would try to follow his captain because he's just way too conceited for that. In a nutshell, he is deceptive, he builds his crew through scam fights, and he stinks at boxing. You're the worst at everything, and that's why you're the best for the worst crew. Next up though, I want to talk about the cooks, a role that is very underrated and essential if you want to survive on the seas, and I definitely had some tasty choices for the best crew to pick from. There's of course the yummy big man with the big tummy, Lucky Roo. I mean, he's canonically actually the fastest pirate in the series so far and is the red hair pirate chef. Let me put that into perspective for you. That means he has great hockey and great vibes, and I was really tempted to put someone like Zeph on here as well because he's essentially the slow roasted dry aged steak of pirates, an infamous legend back in his days, but for this crew I just had to go with the finest of wines out there, my boy Sanji. Okay, to be honest, we all know that he's an absolutely amazing cook and he'll happily feed everyone under the sun and even cooks up special nakama meals to make his crew feel at home completely as well. Seriously, go watch the series or the live action even and just try to tell me his food doesn't look insanely tasty. But there's actually something else that we need to talk about as well. This man's feet. I mean Lex. Oh no, okay. Okay, I swear it isn't weird because he has got godlike hockey and a genetically engineered exoskeleton that lets him block literal laser beams, set himself on fire, and speed blitz even characters like the Gorosei. To put it simply, even though Zoro often takes the limelight away from him, he is one of of the greatest fighters in the series, and with Diable Jambe, he is literally a hot commodity. Very much unlike his captain, who turns out to be the worst cook in One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy. Hey, just because he's the sun god doesn't mean he can't be on the worst crew here, guys. You know I'm right. I mean, he really is just god-awful at cooking. May I draw your attention to chapter 824, where the only time we see Luffy cook, he creates whatever this mess is. And then he even poisons himself with it. So despite his insanely mighty power, he's just the worst cook around and absolutely belongs on the worst crew in that role. And I hope you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I promise he won't be the only surprise pick on that crew, because being strong doesn't mean anything when I'm making this list. If you're broken but have one big key flaw, you might just end up being one of the worst crew in One Piece. And as you'll see in just a moment, you don't have to be the most powerful person alive to be on the best crew either, though there will be a lot of strong characters on this. For example, the best navigator around is definitely Nami, another Straw Hat. Yes, she may not be the best girl for me personally, but she is a top tier cartographer who will guide her crew to victory. Plus, Sanji is still right by her side in case that she can't handle her enemies with Zeus. I think we're all taking it for granted, but she's taken the Straw Hats everywhere they need to go throughout the Grand Line, and she's actually got a very interesting connection to the crew's helmsmen as well, but we will get to that in just a moment. Instead, I want to now talk about the worst navigator. You know him, you all love him, and he sucks at his new job. Say it with me. Zoro. Okay, honestly, this should come as no surprise to anyone in the fandom, because I didn't have to think long and hard about this one at all. Zoro's entire thing is that he literally gets lost everywhere that he goes. And so thanks to his lackluster navigation skills, his crew will just never even make it to sea. Let's be real, he'd probably just steer the ship straight up the coast and park it on the beach, thinking that it was a new island. Really, it's no wonder to me that Perona was the one who had to babysit him and take him to Sabaody after the time skip. But you know, while we're talking about Zoro and Perona, we might as well talk about their dad, Dracule Mihawk. Okay, I mean, come on, he was just bound to be in this video. How could I not put him here? His sword skills and haki are just top tier, and he's an entire army on his own. He's essentially every role on his own crew for half the series, so where should I put him in the best crew? Now, in my mind, he could be an excellent fighter for this crew, as he's a Yonko level threat that rivals the likes of Shanks, but I kind of feel like he could do much more than just be a brawler. Maybe I should make him the sniper, because he could just send laser beam slashes across the ocean to sink entire enemy fleets. But then again, I guess he could theoretically also do that from any other position too, so Oh, I got it. Okay, I will shove him in the crow's nest on top of the ship and make him the lookout. He does have top tier observation haki, he is called Hawkeyes, and he probably would just want to be alone away from the crew anyways. And actually, it looks like Mihawk saw something. Go on, boy, tell us what you see with those special eyes of yours, Mihawk. What's this? Oh yeah, you're right, it is the Ohara Patreon. Good eye, because you're now seeing exclusive content, early chapter reviews, and access to a bunch of art assets that we use in all of these videos. Way to spot that, Mihawk. You really deserve a drink and a nap. I'll move on now and talk about the worst lookout now instead, though. Drum roll, please. It's Fujitora. He's blind. How is he gonna see the next island when he can't even look at himself in the mirror? All right, yeah, the gloves are coming off for this video. If you haven't noticed, I'm gonna grill every single one of the worst crew because they just suck at their jobs. Well, except for one, but we'll talk about her a little bit later. For now, let's shift over to the shipwright of the best crew. After all, let's be real, none of these crews are gonna get anywhere if someone isn't properly taking care of their ship. So I had to go with the best builder of all time, Bob. No, I'm just playing. To me, the actual correct answer here would be Dr. Vegapunk, and more specifically, actually, Lilith here. Because honestly, she's a baddie for one, and a little bit crazy, something this crew needs a lot more of. Now, just for context, I of course was also thinking about Frankie for a while when I was writing the script for this, but then I realized that Vegapunk is just literally a better Frankie. Sorry, Frankie. He's got a better giant robot suit with the Vega Force. Frankie studied his old notes to become the legendary shipwright that we know and love today, and honestly, he's just always 3 steps behind big brain Vegapunk over here when it comes to all his inventions. missions. I want you to really think about this. With Vegapunk as the shipwright, this man could equip the ship with laser cannons, force fields, robot workers, and even throw some flat screen TVs up in the ship as well. I mean, Mihawk could just kick back and relax, the warning sensors would do all the work for him, Nami would have access to next level weather reading machines, and Sanji would have every possible kitchen appliance ever. So Vegapunk, you are the best, at least in my books. Let me know if you have better ideas. Unlike the worst shipwright in my book, Karoo the giant duck. I gotta be honest, I had him written down for like pretty much every position on this crew, and I just needed to pick one. I mean, what are you gonna accomplish with those big wings of yours, even though you're cute? Are you gonna slap the boat back to health? Seriously, just go eat some bread, because you're all out of your league here. And for those of you who want me to be more serious and pick a better, worse option, I mean, Crocodile and Akainu were my other two picks, but they didn't quite fit the bill, honestly. Crocodile has one arm, and his sand powers are useless when he's trying to repair water damage. And while I did think at first, oh man, Akainu has a really short temper and lava powers, he would just suck at this job, let me direct you to the cover page of chapter 592, because while most people focus on the sword tattoo on his arm and how that might be a hint of him being the leader of Sword, which I don't really buy, I care about how delicate and patiently this man is tending to pruning his bonsai tree. By the way, that's a Pinus parviflora, otherwise known as Japanese white pine, and that's a beautiful piece of nature that he's maintaining with precision and grace there. And when I remembered this, I was like, oh yeah, this dude could absolutely fix a ship and not let the pressure get to him at all. So yeah, long story short, I picked Karoo the duck because I care and do my research for these videos. On to the next crew members, the best and worst fighters. Ooh, okay. These guys are obviously gonna be the backbone of each crew, their most reliable brawler, and need to be able to adapt to any and all situations, very similarly to the vice captain. And well, it's kind of funny because I was just talking a bunch about Sakazuki here, because in my opinion, the best fighter is actually his rival, the former Marine Admiral Kuzan. And honestly, even though I know some of you will disagree, I'm actually pretty confident and happy with this pick. First of all, I absolutely think that he fits the crew with his quirkiness, but also his really chill vibes. And I think that he get along with everyone else we have on the crew so far as well. We do know that he would defend Nami with his life, as he canonically thinks that she's a super sexy lady with big bazongas. Yep, that's a thing. And since he's very laid back as well, he would most likely kick back and crack open a cold one with Mihawk as well. Admittedly, more importantly though, he's an incredible powerhouse who is terrifying when he actually locks in. He was confident enough to take on the entire Blackbeard pirate crew during their first encounter, and literally froze all of Cacao Island when he kidnapped Pudding. We do know that he's strong enough to hold his own against Akainu for 10 days straight, despite him having a pretty clear Devil Fruit disadvantage here and having iron fists that rival even Garp. But not only that, from a utility standpoint, his ice powers are perfect as well. He can help guide the ship, create rest points for the crew by creating an iceberg to dock to, or even throw up ice walls to defend against incoming attacks on the ocean. Again, all in all, I truly think that he is a pretty great choice for this role, and if you disagree, that's fine too. Again, I love to hear your thoughts on the best and worst in the comments as well. However, I do have to admit that even Kuzan isn't actually stronger than the worst fighter I picked. He's a man with a punch that puts the Galaxy Impact and Byron-gun to absolute shame. A man with a right hook that would make Saitama, the One Punch Man, quake in his boots. You know him, you love him, he's a One Piece icon. I'm talking about the man, the myth, the garbage, King Elizabello II. Oh, what, you don't know who that is? Well, if you don't remember, this mad lad from this row, sir, he punches. That's kind of all that he does, and while he is capable of truly insane damage and is rumored to outdo the Yonko at full power, he just can't really use it. Oda really messed with this poor man's life. His ultimate attack, the King Punch, takes a full hour to wind up. He actively relies on other people covering him or hiding to unleash his ultimate move, something that just would not fly at all if the enemy has any observation hockey, so they just find this man and kill him in like, let's say 3 minutes max. This man is just the ultimate glass cannon. Now we have talked about plenty of great and awful crew members so far, but we still haven't talked about the best and worst. We haven't found out who the captains or doctors are still, and those are really essential roles to a successful crew. Until then though, we can tear through some of the more underrated crew positions quickly, like, let's say, the Archaeologists. Now understandably, you may think that Nico Robin is just straight up the best choice for the main crew, or even Blackbeard, since Oda actually confirmed that his real life job would be archaeology, and he seems to be chasing after the true history as well. But I really think that this is one situation where a less powerful character is actually far better at their central role. I'm talking about the famous explorer and former head of Ohara, Clover. Now, don't get me wrong, back in his prime, he was an absolute famous adventurer, and let's not forget it was recently even confirmed that he is a member of the D-Clan, so he's definitely important. But really, I felt that he deserved the spot mostly because his research was just so insane. He himself just discovered so much about the true history of the world and even the entire solar system. Vegapunk's entire speech at the end of Egghead is based entirely on Clover's findings, and his skills were so great, it scared the entire world government and led to his entire island just being murdered. Robin may have inherited the will of Ohara, but this man lit the flame. But you know who would suck at uncovering the truth, I think? Fake News Morgan's over here, because this bird wannabe may tell compelling stories, but he's a bigger liar than even Usopp or Nolan's. Really, if I needed to sum it up, his global massive news empire kind of spreads everything but the truth, it seems, and his loud mouth would absolutely get the crew murdered a bunch of times. And speaking of murder, the best musician in One Piece is actually a professional in it. Now, I bet you thought that I would pick Brook for this, and for a while I did really consider him. I had him written down, but then I went on Spotify to get in the zone for writing this, and the music artist Ado came in on my shuffle playlist. The song was Tot Musica from film Red, and thank God it did, because it just completely slipped my mind somehow that the biggest movie release in the series was all about this psychotic, world-breaking musician. Uta is literally the world's greatest idol, and I just couldn't sleep well at night if I hadn't put her on this list. No, seriously, she wouldn't let me sleep. I kept having nightmares and had to put her in this video, even though her devil fruit powers are technically non-canon, though she is canon, so I don't know, it counts. It's good enough for me. And now, since Luffy sadly is already the worst cook, I sadly couldn't use him here as the worst musician as well, so instead Uta's ultimate rival is a man who not only hates fun but also has some truly screwed up vocal cords, Smoker, who is absolutely the worst for this job, right? I mean, being the musician is all about stage presence, inspiration, having fun. Can you name a single moment that this guy did any of these things? Because I seriously can't. He's an absolute buzzkill and would just stink in this role. What a shame too, because his weapon of choice is essentially a giant tuning fork, I think. I don't know what that thing is called. While we're ripping through super obvious candidates, it is time to talk about the best sniper for this crew. I mean, sure, Soge King and Yasop would be insanely strong picks, especially after watching Yasop just sink an entire ship with one shot, but to me, there is no denying that Van Augur is the right choice for this very specific crew. With his rifle and incredible equipment, he's been set up as one of the greatest snipers in the world, if not all of anime itself. Plus, when it comes to team synergy, he's got a really healthy working relationship with Kuzan already, and his teleporting powers would work really well alongside Mihawk, Sanji, and the Helmsmen, who I'm gonna talk about next. And so his ability to just move all of these powerful fighters across the battlefields at instant speed will literally break any team fight. I mean, imagine not being able to predict what angle Mihawk's slash or Sanji's kick is coming from, or don't imagine it because it would kill you before you even got the chance to do so. However, surprisingly, finding the worst candidate for the sniper position was actually a lot harder for me. I actually spent quite a while trying to come up with a god-awful choice here, and well, in the end, I settled on someone who's just plain gross, Mr. Five, 5, the Exploding Boogerman. Now, in all honesty, he is probably the best worst choice on this list, second to Fujitora, because his power is actually pretty useful, but I don't know, man. It's just kind of like icky to me. Like, nobody's gonna want to talk to him, and he's just gonna throw the vibes off even more than they already are in that crew. Like, just like flicking boogers from the top of the ship. Way to go, killing the vibes, my dude. Okay, but we are closing in on the best captain, and spoiler alert, it isn't gonna be Roger, so start guessing now while we go through the rest of the crewmates. Next up is the best helmsman in the series, and honestly, I don't even think that this one is technically an opinion. You probably assumed it was gonna be Jimbei, but no. He's good, but he isn't the best. For that pick, I want to flashback to the fiercest pirate crew in the world, the Rocks Pirates. Because turns out that their helmsman was a Yonko level threat that rivaled even Roger at his peak. To me, the Golden Lion Shiki is an obvious pick when you really look at it on paper. Not only is he one of only 4 canonically confirmed helmsmen, but he outscales all of them easily. With his float fruit, he can lift small islands, and using his unique body full of swords, he can slash down enemies at lightning speed as well. Now, of course, it's not just power and speed, he's also a tactical genius as well. He actually could have won the Battle of Edwar against Roger if it hadn't been for a freak storm, and he is the first known prisoner to actually escape Impel Down all on his own. Oh, also, did I forget to mention that he was confident enough to just raid Marineford alone? Sengoku and Garb did take him down together, but that alone should kind of speak volumes to how bold and how powerful this man truly is. And then the exact opposite of him, the worst helmsman, is Leo. And don't get me wrong, he is a good pirate with some skill, power, and speed, but unfortunately for him, he's just too small to steer a ship. Like, the little guy couldn't turn a big ship if he tried really hard. So yeah. Okay, but now we've covered the strong fighters and people essential for travel, but what about the person who takes care of all of them? That's right, because next up, I want to talk about the best and worst doctors. And once again, I gotta say, with all of the Straw Hats, Chopper was this close to being picked, but he does have his limits. He's definitely insanely talented, but there is someone with that same skill and incredible power that's just a way better pick, and that's why, to me, the Surgeon of Death, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, got this spot. I gotta be real here. He's capable of holding off a Yonko crew all by himself, as seen in his battle with Blackbeard, but he is also a phenomenal doctor. He saves Luffy countless times and even operated on both him and Jimbei simultaneously after Marineford. And to me, a completely underrated feat was when he just on the fly applied pharmacology skills into his room, nearly removing all of Caesar's deadly toxins from the giant children on Punk Hazard. That scene does not get talked about enough. Oh yeah, and of course he also has the most broken devil fruit in the series. I mean, a doctor who could literally make his captain immortal kind of sounds like a really good choice if you ask me. He's got an awakened devil fruit, Yonko level hockey, and is one of the smartest characters in the series. Just across the board, he will drastically boost the strength, skill, and efficiency of this already broken crew. Unlike our worst doctor, Mr. Magellan here. This dude literally poisons people for a living, and that's arguably, I guess, a medical malpractice. Plus, you know, the whole idea of a doctor is that they need to be available in emergency situations, and this man is never free. This man will just be pooping in the corner while his crew gets dismembered, blown up, and is just terminally ill. My boy over here can't even fix his own bowel movements, let alone take care of other people's health concerns. Okay, but now before I get to the actual captains, I wanted to take just a quick moment to touch on some smaller roles on the crew that would make a big difference. Those two are the cabin people and the chroniclers. Chroniclers, I don't know. For the best crew, I was really tempted to pick Momonosuke here because he has a mythical zone fruit and is a child, but then I remembered that Yamato hasn't been out to sea yet and has insane haki plus a mythical zone fruit. So it's your lucky day, Yamato. You are on my crew and also one of my favorite characters. So that was a little bit of a biased pick maybe. As for the worst here, I had to pick someone who would be no help at all and just cause problems, and for that reason I picked San Juan Wolf because literally all he could do is get in the way and he probably just break the ship by accident trying to mop it. And next up are the chroniclers, whose main job is keeping a written record of the crew's journey and adventures. Now with that in mind, I just had to throw a curveball and pick Mond Dor over here, the Charlotte sibling who uses the book fruit. Let's just say this job was designed for him. Plus he's actually pretty damn strong, unlike the worst chronicler, a little child, Tama. Don't get me wrong, Tama is super sweet and all, and I have nothing bad to say about her, but for obvious reasons, a child who can hardly read, can she even read and write? She's just not gonna be ready to sail the high seas and keep track of someone's adventure. She's probably gonna end up coloring really cute pictures with some crayons, and while that is adorable, it's also not exactly what a crew would actually need. Okay, but you know what a crew does absolutely need? A fantastic captain. And so it is time that we now talk about the best one on the ocean, a man who we've seen lead an entire army to victory. He's mysterious, he's powerful, and honestly, he's somewhat controversial. So let me tell you why I'm really confident that the best captain would be Monkey D. Dragon. Okay, please put the pitchforks down. I swear I have good reasons for this. In my mind, a great captain needs to be a tactical person, willing to make really hard decisions, and be, well, very strong. We do know that Dragon can do all of these things. His presence forces Smoker to leave Loketown, and he is the most wanted man alive. If we follow typical power scaling rules, he also should outscale the likes of Kuma and Sabo, people who can stand toe-to-toe with the likes of the Gorosei. Honestly though, I think that it's his brain which would actually make him the best choice above the likes of Roger, Whitebeard, or even Garp or Luffy. I think it's easy to forget that this man is raging an all-out war against the entire world government, and he is starting to take the lead. He's patient and wise beyond his years, but also has that dog in him as well, if you know what I mean. He would know exactly how to capitalize on every single crew member's strength. He's the kind of puppet master that would strike a perfect deal with Germa by leveraging Sanji, but still keep him safe. He'd figure out a back-channel way into the Marines using Kuzan and Mihawk's connections, and then he'd just destroy enemy pirates with the full force of his crew's truly broken power levels. But you know who couldn't do that? Well, that's the man who is so selfish, arrogant, and simple-minded that he could never lead a prosperous crew. And while my choice for the worst pirate captain embodies all of these awful traits, but much more as well. Because after really thinking long and hard about that position, I came to the conclusion that Orochi would be the absolute best worst fit for that job. Now, for you manga fans out there, I did consider Road from the New Giant Warrior Pirates because he is an outcast and a weird freak, as we now learned, but I felt like Orochi really would be the worst. He is arrogant and would try to rule this crew with an iron fist fairly unsuccessfully, and that would just not work with characters like Luffy, Zoro, and even Foxy on his crew. Honestly, there would probably be a mutiny against him in like a matter of minutes. Alright, but now is the time that you've all been waiting for, the battle of the best and worst. Who will come out on top? Drumroll please? Yeah, it's a landslide victory for the best crew. I mean, despite having some surprising powerhouses like Luffy and Zoro, they just could not hold their own here. For starters, with Zoro and Leo piloting the ship, they started the battle and turned around facing the wrong way. Everyone was just malnourished and poisoned because of Luffy and Magellan, and I think that Foxy tried to join the other crew. Karoo just flew away quickly, and then Fujitora raised the white flag once he realized who they were up against. And everyone else, well, they just protected Tama because she just did not deserve to get killed here. Meanwhile, on the best side, the battle was over before it even started, I think. Dragon led everything with expert level precision. By using Law's Devil Fruit, he set up a pincer attack and let his silent killers go to work. Kuzan, Law, Van Augur, and Mihawk reduced the enemy ship to shambles without making a sound. Then Nami came in with Zeus Thunder and knocked everyone besides Luffy and Tama out as well. Luffy made one last stand but was quickly shut down by the giant robot version of Mihawk that Vegapunk created as well, who just split the sky and Luffy in half with one mighty sword slash. Let's be real, it was never a question because they really are the best. But that did get me wondering what other combinations of characters would make a fantastic crew, because I kind of feel like there is a legendary group of characters that could rival even the Roger or Rocks pirates if I put them all together. A group whose entire mission is to defy the gods and change the world. The D-Clan. Because I'm pretty sure that having Rocks, Garp, and Roger on the same crew would be absolutely wild, and they'd get into some crazy stuff, right? Well, let me tell you, absolutely, and I actually laid it all out in this video below me about what would happen if all of the D-Clan members were on the same crew, and it probably has the craziest plot twist ending that I have ever written. So go check it out. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.